Why would I travel halfway around the world, all the way to London, to train with strangers? One word: community. Community is what separates the elite from the average. It's what separates the boys from the men. And this holds true in all areas and all aspects of life. Whatever your goals are, however you're trying to level up, whatever field that you work in, if you want to level up, you want to get better at whatever you do, place yourself in the right environment. And by the right environment, I mean, put yourself around people who are going to push you. Put yourself around people who share the same mindset and share the same interests as you. Now, we don't always live in the ideal environment. Personally, for my goals, I don't live in the ideal environment. I'm somebody who's extremely passionate about calisthenics. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that this channel talks about calisthenics. It talks about growth in all areas of life. So for me, being around like-minded individuals who are into a calisthenics movement practice, who think deeply, who do a lot of introspection, who have just a similar mindset when it comes down to life, is extremely important for me. And preferably, I'd like to be around some people who actually push me and who actually can challenge me in a lot of ways and who motivate me and inspire me to level up my movement practice, to level up my growth journey, and who are going to be a catalyst for that growth. I've been living in San Francisco for 2 years now, and unfortunately, San Francisco is not the best place for a calisthenics athlete. It's a great place for a personal trainer. I'm a personal trainer as well. It's a great place if you are trying to build a business. There's tons of money in San Francisco. I think I looked at a statistic online. It was basically saying that the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, if it was its own country, it would be like top 20 economies in the entire world, which is pretty mind-blowing for such a small area of the world. I think the Bay Area as a whole is probably about 10 million people, if that. It might be like 8 million people. So it's a great place to live. There's a lot of opportunities. You know, there's some good things about this place, but one of the big drawbacks for me living in the Bay Area is that calisthenics is just not a thing here. There's individual calisthenics practitioners, but there's really no community. Where I'm from in the East Bay in Oakland, there's a small community out by Lake Merritt, if you guys have ever been there. And there's like one pull-up bar or like a couple pull-up bars there and some raggedy dip bars there. And it actually does draw a pretty big crowd. There's a community of people who go work out there, but the environment's not really that great because the equipment is not good. I'll post a video here of what the Lake Merritt pull-up bars look like, and you'll see if you've been to any good calisthenics parks but this is a lackluster park to do calisthenics at. And in my travels, if you guys been watching the channel, you guys know I've traveled extensively. I've been to over 30 countries. I've lived in other countries, and believe me when I tell you, if you guys are people who are from the United States, calisthenics overseas is a whole different ball game. And personally, I had never even been to London before this recent trip that I just got back from. But you know, we all have social media. This is one of the good things about social media. It's a good thing about YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, that it makes the world a lot smaller. It gives us a lot of information. And I've just been noticing a trend of calisthenics athletes out in England and in London specifically. And I actually have been noticing that they all tend to train at this one park. So one thing I did was when I was on Instagram, I actually was searching for that park. I was like checking out people's reels, like all these calisthenics athletes that I follow or see online. And I was trying to see, do these people actually tag this park that they're in? And I found like one person that actually tagged that park. I decided to plan an entire vacation around training at this park. I saw that there was high-level athletes there. I saw that they would have calisthenics meetups there. I would see the park being full, and it attracted me to travel all the way to London to go train at this park. One of the other things I did in London was I got a ticket to go watch the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. It was Alexander Usyk versus Daniel Dubois. Extremely amazing atmosphere as well. I went to go watch that fight over at Wembley Stadium. Boxing is also way bigger in England than it is in the United States, and I'm a big boxing fan. So that was another reason, which I didn't even need another reason to travel all the way to London to take a vacation. This is the first time I've traveled outside of the country in over 2 years. For me, it had to be something that was worthwhile. I actually didn't even bring my girlfriend on this trip. I went solo, and I actually ended up meeting up with another one of my friends who I actually have never met in person, just somebody who I know who's a fellow calisthenics practitioner, who I met online, somebody who watched my YouTube channel, and then we ended up chopping it up on Instagram. So me and this person developed somewhat of an online relationship centered around calisthenics. So we chop it up, send each other, kind of progress reports on, how we've been training, what we're working on, so on and so forth. But anyways, I decided to meet my homeboy out there. He took a short trip from Portugal. I came all the way from San Francisco. We touched down in London with one thing in mind, and that was training calisthenics and going and soaking up some of the park vibes that they had there. And I honestly wasn't even ready for what I would witness when I got out there. So the first day when I got to London, I was super jet lagged and super tired. I actually had a bit of a hiccup when it came down to my flight out to London. The first flight that I was on got rerouted. I ended up being on the plane for like 9 hours just to come back to San Francisco. So I had to wait an extra day, lost one day on my trip, and then I ended up taking the flight out there the next day. If you guys don't know, the flight from San Francisco to London is about 10 hours. So I got out to London, super tired, super jet lagged, took a nap. And then I ended up, the first thing on my list was to go down to this park that I had found online, which is called Westbourne Green Park. Dope ass calisthenics park, probably the best one I've ever seen in my life. But I decided to go down to this park and just go check it out. I didn't really want to work out that day, at least not a heavy calisthenics workout. I just wanted to do a little mobility, maybe some jump rope, so I did that. But I went down to go check out the park. It wasn't really that busy that day. It was just a couple people there. It was in the middle of the day on a Thursday. But the next day, so my homeboy showed up the evening that I arrived. First day I arrived in London, I was super jet lagged. I was on a 10-hour flight, and the previous day I actually tried to get out to London, and my flight got diverted back to San Francisco. So we flew like 4 hours out towards London, and then the plane had to turn back around for a mechanical issue. That sucked. That delayed my trip one day, ended up losing one day on my trip, but it was all good. I ended up taking a flight out to London the next day. But with all that kind of madness with the travel, and it turned into almost like a 36-hour travel time, I ended up being super tired and didn't really want to train that first day that I was there. I just did some light mobility and just some jump rope and stuff like that, just to kind of prep myself for the next day when I actually was going to go down to that park and train. So the next day I meet up with my homeboy who lives in Portugal. We go down to this calisthenics park, and as soon as we get there, the vibes at the park were just off the hook. They're, playing all that London music, the London rap music, or the England British hip hop music or whatever, which is dope. It's a group of people out there who's just training, chilling. Everybody out, some influencers that I've never seen before who are like filming some content. The people out there are the calisthenics athletes out there. They're on a super high level. And for me, this was what I was looking for. So immediately when I got down to the park, I'm like, this is what it's all about. This is why I traveled out here. And it's inspirational to see. And then me and my homeboy started warming up, started getting our workout in. And I felt the energy. I was still kind of tired from the day before, but I felt the energy and just got a great workout in. My homeboy got a great workout in. I don't know how he felt about it, but I felt super strong. I felt like I was taking some of the energy from that community, and it was leveling up my workout, and it was kind of forcing me to push myself a little bit harder. So this is one of the advantages of being around a strong community in whatever area of life that you're trying to level up in. For me, it's calisthenics. And from assuming for a lot of you guys out there, it could be calisthenics as well if you're watching my channel. So that day was a Friday, and like I said, the park was pretty full. There was a good amount of people, bunch of high level people who were there. Me and my homeboy ended up starting a conversation with, I don't know, at least like 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10 other people who were at the park training calisthenics. This is one of the things that I love about the global calisthenics community. It don't matter where you from, it don't matter what race you are, it doesn't matter what age you are. If you're in the park training calisthenics, and it doesn't even matter what level you are in calisthenics. If you're a beginner, if you're an elite calisthenics practitioner, people will show other people love. People support other people. People are going to help push other people. People are always going to be there to lend a helping hand, ask questions, everything you can think of in a supportive community. That's what calisthenics represents to me. So like I said, first day was a major success. Me and my homeboy, we just kind of freestyled our workout, but we had a great training session, and I was inspired to get another session in the next day. The next day, unfortunately, it was raining. So me and my boy decided to train in my hotel gym, but we got a really good workout in the hotel gym. I might have some footage of that and post that in this. A community doesn't have a cap or doesn't have a specific number to it. I would say even just having a training partner is a community in itself. So for me and him, both training calisthenics in the gym, we were also pushing each other. It's funny because we randomly decided to make this reel where we did like handstand push-ups. I would do a handstand push-up variation and then walk off the camera, and then he would jump in and do a handstand push-up variation as well. And I think just the fact that me and him both have a little bit of competitive nature to ourselves, we were trying to make sure that our handstand push-ups was crispy clean, make sure that we did a dope variation. These are the kind of friendly competitions that will help build our skill set up and are gonna help us level up to the next level. So on Sunday, my homeboy dipped off to Amsterdam. I decided to train at the park. It was raining in the morning, so then I decided to wait till the afternoon where it cleared up a little bit. So I got to the park around noon, and man, it was a sight to see when I got to the park. There was this huge community. I'm telling you, the park was probably like 50 deep. And it was a whole calisthenics group that was there training. And apparently they go from park to park in London, and they just train at different parks on Sundays or something like that, which was a dope thing to see. It kind of reminded me of my time in Brazil, because when I was in Salvador, Bahia, there was a calisthenics community there, super strong calisthenics community. And they used to train at this park. I think it was like Parque Campos Grande or something like that, that they used to train at on Sundays. But it would be like 50 to 70 people that would come out and train at that park. And this was probably the only other time I've ever seen something like that, where it was kind of like an event where people just came out to the park, everybody trained, everybody helped each other out with their training, and just good vibes, helps each other level up in a lot of ways. But eventually more people started trickling into the park. And I noticed some of the people that were trickling into the park were actually some influencers that I had seen on Instagram before. So it was dope to see that this is like a hub where a lot of the elite calisthenics athletes meet up at. So I met a few more people on Sunday, and we chopped it up and talked about training strategies and things of that nature. It was an overall great experience. I ended up leaving London on Tuesday. I think I got another couple workouts in at my hotel room. For me, just going to the park 2 days and spending, 2-3 hours at the park each time I went there, it was something I needed to motivate myself to want to level and step my game up, or when I got back home to San Francisco. Because personally, I don't have anybody out here to push me, and somebody out here a group of people out here to motivate me and inspire me to be better and, be on top of my game and kind of stay disciplined and stick to the script. And that's an interesting thing, because I noticed that being around an elite community always brings out the best. So being around an elite community always brings out the best in me. When I was living in Argentina and I was training at the parks out there was a park I went to out there called Parque Centenario. If you guys are ever in Buenos Aires, go to that park. You're gonna see some calisthenics beasts. Whenever I was training there, I'd always see people who are at a higher level than me. And that didn't make me jealous. It didn't make me feel insecure or anything like that. I was grateful to be around people who are at a higher level than me because I would see how they train. I just take notes. I didn't even necessarily need to talk to them. Now, a lot of times I would, but sometimes when you're in a different country, you don't speak the same language. But if you're in the right environment around elite level practitioners in whatever area you're trying to level up in life, you can sit back and observe, and you can sit back and watch these people. And by watching, you're studying. And by studying their movement practice, studying what they do to get to whatever level that they're at, you can implement that into your toolbox. I'm a big proponent of taking something out of somebody else's toolbox and adding it to your toolbox to help you level up. So for me, it's always a good thing. As a matter of fact, it's a great thing when I'm in an environment when there's people around me who are actually better than me at whatever area of life I'm focused in on. So it's funny, after that initial training session that Friday at Westbourne Green Park, I texted my girl back home and I was telling her about how the park was. I was telling her about how the workout went and everything like that. I was telling her that crazy, I feel like just in the middle of the pack at this park when it comes down to training wise, physique wise. I feel like everybody here is super strong and everybody here is really at a high level. So I feel like I'm just fitting in with the crowd, opposed to when I'm back home. I'm home right now, but when I'm back home in San Francisco, I'm typically the strongest person in every gym that I go to. I'm typically the strongest person at every park that I go to. Rarely do I ever meet anybody in the Bay Area who's at my level. Definitely at my level in calisthenics. Is very rare for me to meet anybody around here who's at that level in calisthenics. So my girl actually asked me, she was like, oh, how do you feel about being in an environment where, basically you're, just one of the guys there and you're not the strongest person at the park? And I told her, I was like, I love it. This is great. This is what I came out here for. This is what I was looking for. I think that it's like a supercharger for me to get around people who are at a higher level because they motivate me. They give me a visual example of where I need to level up. And they are showing me in their movement practice how to get there. So for me, it's a great thing to be around people who kind of humble you. And it's a great thing to get motivation with people like, I'm just going to keep it 100 with you guys. My diet has not been that great since I moved to San Francisco. As a matter of fact, I would actually say my diet has been piss poor. And if you see a picture of me when I was living in Hawaii versus a picture of me with my shirt off living in San Francisco, I have built up a lot more muscle mass over the years, but I'm nowhere near as lean. And when I went out to London to see that these dudes was big and shredded and performing at a high level in calisthenics, I'm like, man, I really need to step my game up. I didn't think about it in a self-conscious way. I was thinking about it in a motivational way, as in, I know that I can have that too, but I haven't been putting the work in to achieve that. So for me, it was the best thing that could have happened to me. See people at a higher level, see people whose physiques are at a higher level, and it's going to motivate me to train harder when I'm out here. And also, one of the things that I got from this trip is that since I don't live in a calisthenics hub, or since I don't live in the perfect environment for me to grow and flourish as a calisthenics athlete, this just means one of the things I'm gonna have to add into my tool belt is that I'm gonna need to start traveling specifically for calisthenics. This was a great trip for me. Not a good trip, but a great trip for me. So I need to start traveling to link up with, some of the homies who I've met online. There's a brother out in Seattle. He's got a YouTube channel called Payday J. I want to go travel out to Seattle to go train with him. I just ended up linking up with my homeboy. He's got a YouTube channel as well. His channel is called The Focus Algorithm. Not necessarily about calisthenics, but he's an elite calisthenics dude as well. So me and him linked up. So what I'm gonna do, and there's also a brother out in Florida whose name is Tim Effect. Check out his YouTube channel as well. I'll put the links of all these guys' YouTube channels in the description box below. Tim Effect is 70 years old. Looks like he's 40. You know what I mean? You'll see this dude's, his physique looks like 25. He's 70 years old. It's complete motivation for me to see people who are in their 70s. There's so many things and so many people to be inspired by when you're in the right environment. And that is actually one thing about the internet that's great, is that there's an online community of calisthenics, But online and real life are two different things. You know, it's great to see people online on IG, YouTube, TikTok, or whatever that inspire you. There's a complete separate level of inspiration and motivation and growth that comes from being in a real life community, in real life, traveling there, or even creating your own community in real life as well. And that's the last thing I'll talk about in this video. Is one of the biggest takeaways from this trip is that I need to be the change in the world that I want to see. So if what I want in my present environment, which is San Francisco, California, is to have more of a calisthenics community here, I need to be the person who starts that calisthenics community. I need to be the person who starts calisthenics meetups. I need to be the creator of that community. And that's something that I'm highly motivated to do. So what I'm planning on doing in the near future, probably in the next couple weeks, is start calisthenics meetups out here at Dogpatch Park, or actually I think it's called Progress Park in Dogpatch area, San Francisco. And I'll do a weekly meetup every Sunday for free. So like I said, I'm a personal trainer by trade. So in being in this super capitalistic environment of San Francisco, sometimes I get into this mindset where anything I need to do for my time, I need to be compensated for, especially when it comes down to fitness. But I need that energy. So I'm being compensated in another way if I create this calisthenics meetup and invite a bunch of people there. And more than likely, there's not going to be the same, well, not more than likely, there's not going to be the same level of athletes as there was out in London. You know, the UK is kind of like New York, or London is kind of like New York in the standpoint that the calisthenics culture there is super strong. But for me, I need to start that, build that, plant that seed, and let that calisthenics culture out here in California or out here in the Bay Area blossom. And then maybe we can create something similar to New York. Maybe we can create something similar to the UK. But anyways, guys, the moral of the story is sometimes we're not living in the ideal environment for whatever area of life, or whatever field we might work in, whatever area we're trying to level up in. So we need to go out and seek those environments. And then once we go out and seek those environments, we can learn from those environments. Then we can go back to our home base or wherever it is that we live, and then we can create the type of environment that we need to thrive and to flourish. But anyways, guys, if you guys are interested in starting your calisthenics journey, go to my website. I've got a few programs on there. One of them is a program that's absolutely free. If you're not able to do pull-ups, or if you don't feel like you're proficient at pull-ups, I've got a free 12-week pull-up program that you can follow along with. And if you follow along with that program over a 12-week span, I guarantee you'll get proficient at pull-ups. Also, I have, for those of you who are maybe at a higher level of beginner or maybe an intermediate level, I have a 12-week hybrid athlete program. That's weights, that's calisthenics, that's running. I have a program for you to level all of that up on my website as well. So the links will be in the description box for those. If you guys have been watching this video this long, go ahead and leave me a like. You know, a lot of people have not been liking my videos lately, and I think it's just out of not thinking about it. And also subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you watched this far and you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, hit that notification bell. But anyways, guys, hope everybody's having a great day out there. Check back in for more content. I'll holla at you guys later. Peace.